You're listening to episode 142 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. So on today's Small and Supercharged podcast, I'm joined by James from a brand that I'm sure you all know, which is Will Bees Bespoke. Thank you so much for joining us today, James. It's really exciting to get to talk to you.
You're very welcome. It's great to be on, and thanks for taking the time to speak to us.
So can you tell us all about how Will Bees Bespoke started?
Well, it was my business partner, Will, as in Will Bees. It was his idea, and it was about 5 years ago. Decided he came from a clothing background. That was his line of business that he had, and it was time for a change. And it was his idea to come up with a bags and accessories business, predominantly about heritage, English made, handmade, but then with that twist. So it was every single bag would be personalized. So whether it was with the customer's name on it or with the customer's best friend or someone they love. So it was bags which were all personalized, handmade in England. And that was Will's idea. And I joined him about 1.5 2 years after he came up with that idea. We'd previously worked together in a long time ago. Both wanted to do something a bit different. And 4 years later, this is where we're at.
Gosh, I can't believe you've only been going for 4 years. It just seems like...
It's longer than that. I think I've been saying 4 years for about 4 years now. So it's about 5 to 6 years now. I forget.
It's still a fairly new addition. I feel like you're really part of a kind of country, coastal, equestrian, because obviously the shows you go to scene. But to think you've only been around for a fairly short space of time when you think about the kind of longer heritage brands, I think that's really interesting too.
Yeah, I suppose we never stop to think about that. I think it's lovely to hear that. We are our own worst critics, but it's really lovely to hear that. I definitely think a big part of that for us must have been the fact that we, loved and really enjoyed taking part in events like Burghley and badminton, and I think that was probably a good footing for us, which maybe got us recognised by you.
and others, not just me. And others. So obviously now we're in these kind of COVID times and there haven't been any events for a little while, and you have different ways of selling, haven't you? And you've always had different ways of selling. So how did it start, and then kind of where are we now in terms of how you get your product out to your customers?
Well, it was quite traditional when we started. So we were very lucky to find a store in Salcombe, beautiful area of Salcombe, which is on the south coast of Devon. Very, very busy in the summer. Great customer demographic that comes down here. So the plan was a shop. At the same time, we were going to roll out events. So the likes of badminton, Burghley, Spirit of Christmas. And at the same time, we were going to have a website. In terms of priority of effort, I would say 5 years ago, shop was probably 70%. Events were 29%. And if I've got my sums right, digital was about 1%. That's how we started. And that's where we felt that's how we thought we would get the brand going. And then after a couple of years, events became probably 50% of our efforts. We were up to about 12 events throughout the year, quite prestigious events. And whereas now that has very much shifted, and this was actually pre-lockdown, before lockdown all happened. We love our shop. We've cut down hugely on events, and that was purely because where we saw the opportunity for growth was across our digital platform and marketplace. And that's where most of our efforts are going now.
So obviously with COVID times, you would have gone to shows like badminton, Burghley last year. So did all of this mean that you your plan to focus on digital just accelerated quite quickly, and you really did pivot because you'd already had the groundwork, or how did that work for you?
This was actually before lockdown. We had already decided to reduce our events quite significantly. And so actually going from 10 events, we had decided pre-lockdown we were probably only going to do 2, and that was Chelsea Flower Show and Spirit of Christmas. So that decision had already been made. At the same time, we moved platforms from WooCommerce to Shopify. We saw the light in Shopify, and we made a very quick move over to Shopify, and this was with our digital partner, who is a Shopify expert, convinced us to go down that route. And then actually that's when we really saw how you could optimize and create that shopping experience that our customers are expecting. So we were very lucky that we'd already decided to do that pre-lockdown. But as lockdown started to happen, and what we experienced was a huge surge in traffic to our website and actual web sales, we were already, luckily enough, we'd already put that platform in place and already had some sort of business plan as to how we were going to maximize our digital marketing. So there was a bit of luck involved in that, but lockdown has definitely pushed us more down that route, because we've had a lot more traffic, we've had a lot more orders to work with, we've got a lot more data to look at. And so the more data you have, the more we've tested, the more we feel we can do with it now.
And you're still able to provide all of the services, apart from people physically coming into your shop and touching the products. You can still do an awful lot online. As you say, when you've got the right platform behind you, you can do the personalization, you can show the fabrics, you can tell the story. There's a huge amount of scope there. And it must be strange, because obviously Will Bees Bespoke is that kind of personalized experience, as you say, in your shop is not easy to do. I'm sure there's a real art to it, but making sure you're delivering that online is quite a skill, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've touched on probably one of our biggest challenges. So if you walk into our shop, or if you come to see us at Chelsea Flower Show, we'll show you a beautiful bag. You'll choose the fabrics the colorway that you want it in, and literally there and then, in about 60 seconds, we'll personalize it with your name on it, or whoever's name you want on it. When we show you that bag, 99% of people, the reaction is the same, and it's just such a lovely reaction. And then they go, I get this, and now I want to buy one for my sister, and I want to buy one for whoever. And then so it's capturing that little moment. That's our challenge, is to show that online. So if you've never heard of our brand before and you see us online, how do we show you that little bit of magic that happens when you actually walk into our shop or to one of our events? So that, I think you've touched on, so that's a real challenge for us, and that's something we're very much working on this year.
But something that's been helped massively, I would assume, by your social media, because I know that you've been working really hard to grow that.
Yeah, saw the light in social media. I'm slightly the wrong age of the social media demographic, but I've learned as much as I can. We've got a great team here, and luckily they're less than half my age, so they're very good at pointing us in the right direction. But yes, we've worked with various influencers, and we've also really tried to understand the type of photography, the content, the engagement with the customer. And we've had quite a rapid growth in terms of followers. It's then looking at, is it all about how many followers you have, or is it the actual engagement, and is it the authentic content that people are after? And so I think there's a bit of a balance between that, but social media has definitely played its part for us.
And it's been lovely to see your bags either up close. I know you use quite a lot of studio photography and quite a lot of professional photography, but it's lovely to see them, with styles with different outfits, together in their groups, because you do make, is it 4 different styles you said? I mean, can you tell us a bit about how that works with, you've got loads of different fabrics, the range looks huge, but what is it kind of at its core?
Well, we work with about 6 to 8 core shapes of bags, and then it's what is on those bags, either from a Harris tweed fabric, a Liberty fabric, our floral, our Bee Garden collection, which is this latest fabric collaboration that we're working on. So where you might have 6 to 8 shapes of bag, we then have anywhere between 100 and 150 different fabrics that will go on it. Not all at the same time, obviously. We curate them and merchandise them correctly. But that can involve from suede to just fabric to a velvet. And so therefore, if you see our shop and you walk into our shop, or actually if you go online, you'll see, let's say, a coin purse, but then you'll see about 60 to 80 different variations of it. And then obviously each one's personalized. So that's why we have, the offering that we do. But actually, it's quite a simple structure.
But I think one of the great things about social is it's lovely to be able to see those different sizes, those different shapes together. And you wouldn't normally on your website have, you know, a product listing, you would then focus on that one product, but to see them all together, to see the different sizes, shapes, orientations, styles, I think social's such a great place to do that.
Really good point. I hadn't thought of it from that angle, but I think that makes total sense. And that's where I think seeing it also on other people, not just us and our team and who we think should be, you know, should be photographed with it, but just seeing everyone else with it. And that, as an example, is something we have tried to do, and we'll probably do a lot more of this year, is to engage our audience to show us how they use our bags in their context.
I think it's brilliant because it's so relatable then as well. If you see someone, you know, it's lovely to see those styled images of people just looking gorgeous and like they've got their life together.
Yeah.
But it's also lovely to see kind of normal folk or people that you like know, or you feel you know through social, just looking amazing with the product. And seeing how they use it in their daily lives as well. I've always got this thing about bags, like, can I fit what I need to fit in them? And if you see someone with a laptop rammed in it, you know it's going to work.
And that, exactly. So one of the things we're doing right now is lifestyle photography. We're now going to have a prop next to the bag, which gives you that sizing identifier.
Amazing.
So whether it's a mobile phone or lipstick or car keys or so, you know, that's something we've sort of learned recently, but maybe we should have known that 5 years ago. However, that's the sort of thing in photography that very much we're working on. But saying that, it is product, but also we quite like social to be just a bit genuine. We're dog lovers at this end. We absolutely love our dogs. And so sometimes we just ask people to send us photos of their dogs because we quite like
get a dog, a kid and a bag and you'll sell out.
I mean, we should have set up a dog grooming service instead, because we talk a lot about dogs. Last time my Jack Russell was in my dishwasher helping clean the plates. So that was a good photo.
Oh, I've got a trail hound and she likes to help by, you know, emptying the bin across the floor, things like that. Yeah, useful.
Yeah. Anyway, Will's dog is famous. And so, and well known by everyone in Salcombe, and features a lot on our social pages. So it's lovely. It's really nice.
That's fab. You can't beat a good dog picture.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned earlier about a Liberty print, and just before we pressed record, you told me something really, really exciting that I've got the press release for up here, and I'm looking at all the lovely pictures, which is a really new, exciting thing for you. Can you talk to us about this, how it came about, and what it is? Because I think the detail is so exciting.
Yes. We're really excited about it. I suppose that's another challenge, is how do we broadcast it? But thank you for asking that question. We launched towards the end of last year the Bee Garden collection. So this is a collaboration, and this is when we're talking about marketing. So collaborations, we feel, is another place for us to go forwards. We have been working with Emma Morstan, who used to head up the design for Liberty Fabrics. And if you are a Liberty Fabric fan and know of the fabrics, I am sure you would recognize a lot of the fabrics that she has personally designed. So that's her pedigree and background. Chelsea Flower Show, we met her there. We got on really well, and that was a few years ago, and we've always kept in touch. And to cut a long story short, we ended up talking about a project, and the idea was, Emma loves coming down to Devon and Cornwall, and she said, look, hey, why don't I come down to your part of the world? We'll look at the flowers that the bees like to fly around and pollinate from, and I'll draw them, and I'll draw some of the bees local to that area too, and then come up with some ideas. And so she went through that process, and just a beautiful process just that she had to go through. And we've ended up with this Bee Garden collection, which is just it's very colourful. We feel it's genuine, it's authentic. It's a story about two different groups getting together who just got on really well. And now we've put that fabric onto our bags, and we only launched that towards the end of last year, and it's rapidly become our best-selling range. But the beauty is we're now working with Emma to go and look at other different styles and designs. But again, it's in that sort of bee and floral, botanical sort of look. But we feel we've got this project that's kicked off. It's proven itself quite quickly, and that's where we're going to be focusing a lot of our efforts and weave that story into, our brand story across all areas where we talk about what we do. We feel this is a really important story for us.
Yeah, obviously I appreciate it's lucky that Will's surname is Bees, but bees are really in at the moment, and actually because of the coronavirus issue, pandemic, all of the bad words, I think we've all become a lot more aware of the sort of natural world and the need to protect it and look after it, because there were so many stories when, particularly in the first lockdown, all over the world, where because people were out less, they were polluting the environment less, and they were getting, dolphins in places they hadn't seen for years. So I feel like we're a lot more aware of our surroundings, aware of the natural world. So I'd imagine that this taps in beautifully to that as well.
Absolutely. And yes, I think you always need a sprinkling of luck in any type of business. And definitely Will's surname's played a part of that. Customers have also really helped us on that front, because every time we've sort of brought in a bee type of fabric, it has sold really well. So that's helped us go down that route. I think you've touched on a really important point. So sustainability and how that feeds into what we do in everyday life. And that's another project. So part of this project for us is looking at how can we as a business get involved or support that sustainable projects which are out there, particularly related to bees, because we've all now, just because we work in this sphere, become really passionate about bees, the floral nature that they live in, and we're surrounded by it here. So we are looking at how can we either support just very traditionally, like maybe put some proceeds towards, or how do we get involved in that? And that's something we're doing as well this year. And I think that comes back to just being, we're not trying to do it. We haven't come up with that as an idea, as a marketing idea, or it's not a spin. It's something we just want to do. So that's something else we're doing.
And it's evolved very organically as well. And the fact, I imagine, that you're based in such a beautiful part of the world, like in England, and you make products in England, and you get to see the changing seasons and everything else. You're very connected to all of that. And I know your and Will's background is connected to the kind of sea and the environment as well, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. We're really, really lucky to live here, and yes, the winters can be dark and rainy, but no, we are completely surrounded by that, and that's where our kids, that's where our families, that's where our friends, we all, this is our environment, and to tap into that and let that be part of your workplace, absolutely love it.
And one thing, again, we're talking about the current situation. I'm sick of talking about it, but it's such a present thing in our lives. And obviously the move towards being more sustainable, people are really focused on that. But also there's a real push, I think, towards people supporting people who make in Britain, people who are creating products in Britain that we buy from. Now, obviously that's part of your brand from when you set it up. But was there ever any kind of option to not make in the UK, or was it just such a core part of your brand? And do you feel that being made in the UK helps you?
Yes, so I would say making abroad definitely has its place. So I would say 90%, the bulk of our products we hand make here. We have and do source from other countries. The only country we've worked with is Morocco, and there's some excellent craftsmanship that goes on there. So, but I think that's where we're talking about handmade in England, and where we have, so before our shop, before lockdown happened, our seamstress Joss she works from our shop, and actually in the shop window. Wow. Where she's making the bags there and then. I mean, as you walk past, you can see her working, and it became the heartbeat of that shop, just the noise of the sewing machine. And Joss loves dogs as well, and it was always such a focal point. When people came in, they'd just watch her making the bags. And we did that just because we felt as a business proposition to actually make bags ourselves in England was going to be a much better way of running our business than sourcing from abroad in huge container loads that you have to order 12 months ahead of time. And what we found by making in England is we can just react very quickly. We can make small runs, and then if it works, make bigger runs of it. And yeah, we're very lucky to have discovered what we thought was going to be challenging to hand make in England. Actually, there's a lot of skill set out there, and you can find it to make these bags and by hand and be competitive with the retail world out there as well.
And it's a lovely part of the story as well, isn't it? That you are making the UK, you're supporting your local economy. You know, you'll find, and I'm not saying this because there's been some really interesting talk actually online about, it's very, you know, it's obviously very nice to make things in the UK. It's a really positive thing to do. There are also incredible people, factories across the world that also do amazing things. And whilst it's really great to be proud of being British, absolutely, and making in the UK, we should also be very respectful of the factories that are doing an amazing job, who are looking after their staff, who are being sustainable all over the world as well.
Absolutely. Agree with that 100%. I think if you strip it right back to why did we hand make in England to start with, it was a business, it was a commercial decision. It was going to suit the way we worked. And isn't that amazing? That commercially we've chosen to work predominantly with English manufacturing, but that's because of the type of product we do. Everywhere has its place. You know, it just doesn't work everywhere. But as you say, there's some great skill sets out there in other countries, which, you know, traditionally we've all, you know, brands in England have always worked with. But I think the days of, certainly for our business, it would never work. The days of ordering 10 containers of product to be made 12 months ahead of time, it's just, you know, for our size business, that's not going to happen. And actually, we just love the setup we have. And there's some brilliant craft and artisan factories in the UK, hand making, you know, across bags to accessories, that we work with. And just, yeah, it works for us.
As you say as well, the ability to change things up, so you can test something, see how it goes. If it goes well, you can really push forward and make more. Or if it doesn't quite go how you think, you don't have to have invested a huge amount in there, which you don't have to clear at a lower price or whatever. You can be really reactive as well to the situation.
Definitely. And so seasonality, you know, we can literally, if right now we came across a fabric, we were talking to someone and it was like, wow, look at that fabric, it's stunning. We could have that online within probably 5 working days. We could have it made and online, photographed and online, available to sell in about 5 working days. But that's because, you know, I've mentioned Joss before, but as a seamstress, when you have a seamstress with her skill set that can do that, we can be so reactive. But then, yes, you have the challenge of if it sells really well, and you need to make a whole bunch of them. But that's where we've discovered other skill sets within England where we can, you know, move our volume to. So yeah, we feel it's good.
So obviously every journey has got kind of highs and lows in it. I'm going to go to the lows first, because then we go to the highs and it just feels better. But have there been?
I haven't got any highs. I'm trying to think of any now, Joe.
Have there been any lows in your business journey? Because I think that one of the things about social media, as much as I love it, is that we can feel that everyone has a really easy ride and people only ever succeed, whereas that's never been the case with anyone I've ever met. So can you share any lows?
I've got plenty of lows. Yes, I know, quite right. A low was probably, where was it? We'd been at Goodwood Revival Festival and it had poured with rain for 5 days. We took probably 50% less than actually what it cost us to be there. So we were really, and we hadn't slept. And then as we left, we'd all packed up and everyone had gone. And I was driving the truck off and I got stuck in the mud.
Oh.
I had to get the truck to Badminton for the next show or some other event. And I was in the pouring rain, lying underneath the truck, trying to dig mud out. And having lost quite a bit of money, thinking, nah, this is right. But I think anyone that does events has been there. Everyone understands that.
Yes, that That's definitely a low. And
And all I wanted to do was just get on the road and get to Badminton and be dry, or wherever we were going. I think it was Blenheim, somewhere, I don't know, but yeah, that was a good low. No, but on a business level, a low, yeah, so digitally, where we were absolutely hammering at the start of the year, I think we took our eye off the ball with the effect of lockdown. So lockdown had a huge influence on our sales, and we underplayed that. So as we got to Christmas, we geared up for this, almost 3-digit growth rate. And November it happened, and then December it didn't happen. And we'd sort of already counted it in, and it didn't happen. And it was yeah. So that's, and then you sort of question yourself and you wonder what's gone on there, how can it change so much? But I think that is a classic example of the digital world, where there's so many influences on it that you just try and keep a broad look on all the influences on it, because lockdown was definitely one of the bigger parts of that. And then in December, as shops opened again, there was a shift from digital. That momentum, that shift went back to bricks and mortar. So that was a bit of a low, but we still had a really good year. So I think I'm using that as an example because, yes, even though we feel that we're really we've got great momentum right now, it is that roller coaster ride for sure.
No, definitely. And can you share any highs with us? I'm sure you've had an awful lot of those as well.
Oh, the team is definitely the high. We have a really good laugh. Lockdown has put unfortunately just a cut, just stopped all of that going on. But for example, when we were allowed to 2 summers ago, we go out for summer drinks. Will has a beautiful boat. We go out on the estuary, we take a picnic, take plenty of prosecco, and we just sit in the sun on a boat, just drinking and having a really good laugh. And I think that's something we absolutely love, and that's everyone comes along. Joss will come, the dogs will come, the whole team's there. And when I say the whole team, it's not like 50 of us, it's sort of 10 of us, but it's just really enjoying that aspect of it. And I think if you enjoy it and you have that close relationship and that passion behind it, I think everything, just the hard work follows behind it. And I think that trust, the hard work, it just shows. So my high wasn't necessarily talking about a commercial win. It's just more about the people involved. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't make any of the lows bearable. If something goes a bit wrong, at least you can kind of laugh about it. Maybe not at the time, but that.
When I was stuck under that truck in the mud, everyone was laughing at me on WhatsApp.
That's support.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I know.
Now, is there anything you can tell us that we can look forward to over the next few months from you? You can be as cryptic as you need to be.
Yes. Well, we are. So a big part of our project at the start of this year is we're doing a lot more lifestyle photography. So we're putting a lot of effort and time into not just our products, but just our brand. So we are doing a lot of lifestyle shoots, and we're very lucky where we have that skill set within the team. It's fantastic. So photography is very much so the look and feel and what you see, not just about our products but our brand and but also the products and context. That's where we're putting a lot of time. Combine that with the work we're doing, for example, with the collections that we're doing. So the Bee Garden collection, which we've got at the moment, which is a collaboration with Emma. So we're working on other product lines where that Bee Garden collection can feature on. But at the same time, we're looking at new designs with Emma, which will be launching as the year goes through. So expanding on that whole collaboration, that story, there's a lot more coming out there. And then I think the third one is about sustainability and how we bring that into the forefront of our brand. And I think that's something we're going to start talking about once we sign off who, how, and what we're going to work with. I think that's what's going to start coming out to the front. And I think that's going to be good for us as well, to be a bit more aware of that side of it. So yeah, so I think, so 3 really key areas. One is the photography and how that looks and the feel. So that's across everything: social, website, how we contact, just how you see us. 2 is about the collection, the Bee Garden collection, and how we expand on that exclusive collaboration. And 3, it's about sustainability. So I think for us, as a customer, that's where you're going to start seeing differences. Obviously, there's a ton of work going on in the background on the optimization of our website. So we want our website to be the slickest experience for any customer that uses it. And I think any small brand can do that.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity we've got.
So one last question before I ask you all the places where people can find you. Are there any tips you'd give people? Because this situation has caused a lot of people to start small businesses or to spend more time on that amazing phrase, the side hustle, and develop that. Are there any tips that you could give people who are looking to improve what they do in this area?
Be patient. 100%. Things always take longer than you think they're going to take. The other thing is, anything you do, set yourself clear objectives that are achievable, which you can measure. That's all I would say. Anything you do. So whenever you're going to spend money or your time trying something or doing something, just set yourself the objectives for it, even if it's just one objective. Give yourself a timeline, understand how you can measure it, and then at the end of it, you go, okay, shall I keep doing that? Shall I improve it? Shall I stop doing it? So part of that, what that breeds into is testing. So I think that's something we now, just as a mantra, so everything we do, what's the objective? How long are we going to try it for? How are we going to measure it? And then, so I know it sounds really corporate-y and commercial and takes you away from the fluffy, lovely brand feel and bees and flowers. But in essence, bit of patience. And if you stick to that, and if people want to buy your products, if your product is desirable, then people will buy it.
Yeah, no, they're brilliant tips. And I think especially when you're thinking about businesses and how to kind of scale and grow and move them forward, you do need to have that strategy in place for what do I want to achieve by this? How will I know if it's a success or not? And how will I know whether to carry on or to pivot or change or just scrap it all together? I think that's really good tips.
And never be afraid of something not working. It's painful. It's definitely painful at the time, but you learn from it. And we all make. I'm making mistakes the whole time, and I'll always make mistakes. But as you always, people always say, if you're not making mistakes, you're definitely not trying hard enough. 100%.
No, and I do think you do learn more by making the mistake, because what did you learn through doing it? You probably learned new skills, and you learned not what to do, but what to do. Yeah. You can grow so much through things, as you say, they really do smart at the time.
And it helps if you're thick-skinned, and I'm not, so I always take mistakes really personally. I get really upset about them.
That just shows you care. I think it's still good to get upset about it and things don't go well, but I always try very hard and reframe it very quickly and go, right, what did I learn? What have I learned? Come on, what did I learn? And there's always something there that's going to help me for the next thing.
Exactly. But no, we're lucky because, when you're having a bad day, sometimes, we are very lucky. You just go down to the beach, go for a surf, go for a swim. And then your head's cleared, and then you crack on again. But yeah, no, we're a small team. We get on really well, and there's that understanding. And I suppose when you make a mistake, you're like, oh god, But yeah, it's good. On the whole, we really enjoy it.
No, definitely. I think it's been lovely for people to know that you are quite a small, close-knit team, because again, the sort of the presence that your brand has got because of all the hard work, because of being quite different in terms of the special fabrics and things like that, people probably think you're a much larger business than you are. And I think that's really a lovely positive as well.
Yes, I mean, that's lovely to hear. We always think we live in the bubble of Salcombe down in South Devon. But yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. We do we're a tight team. We're very lucky. We do have various external consultants who do help us as well. They all think they help us on a part-time basis, but we think they're full-time. We're always on the phone to them. We're always messaging them. But no, we've got a good team of skill set around us, and we're quite defined with who does what. Will's brand, design, inspiration, ideas. You can probably tell clearly from what I've been talking about, I'm much more commercial. Never ask me about the design of a bag or what it looks like. Leave that to Will. And then we've just got a really good team behind that who have skill sets that Will and I have absolutely none of. So
perfect, the perfect combination. Can you tell us all the places where people can find you online?
Well, willbeesbespoke.com. That's the main place to find us. And obviously physically, if you came into our store in Salcombe, our workshops there, we do have a few shops who have our embossing machines and have, it's almost like a little concession that work with us. So we've got a loft in Padstow, Cornwall. We've got Wadswick, which is near Bath, Alresford Linen in Hampshire. And yes, so those are shops where you can physically come to us. And also we're on Friends of Jules.
Which is lovely.
New partnership we've been working with, which is it's great. And that's purely because we met Jules on the circuit, the event scene. We got on really well with them, and that's why we're on Jules.
And you're also on Instagram. You're at Will Bees Bespoke on Instagram, aren't you?
Yes.
And you're on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Instagram, Facebook, all the usual places. Twitter-ish, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're going to tell me off. Maybe we should be on Twitter.
Say that. So many people say, and I'm on Twitter, but probably contact me on Instagram or Facebook.
Says James. Oh dear.
No, honestly, you're not the only person. Don't worry about that at all. Thank you so much for joining me today, James. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And I hope you have a really good day.